If you want to start your own business or you have an entrepreneurship venture that you're trying to go after, but you're scared, we are going to get past those fear blocks today. Keep watching. We will get right into it. Welcome back to the Chasing a Greater Vision podcast. I'm your host, Rickey Jasper. Today, we're talking about overcoming the fear of starting your own business, overcoming the fear of being an entrepreneur. I have been an entrepreneur for 10 years. I've also worked in the tech space for 10 years. I've built businesses. I'll talk about that. I'll talk about all of the fear, all the imposter syndrome, and what I did to get past it. But 5 things that you can do and that you can do rather immediately. Number 1, imagine the worst case scenario. Number 2, start with doing just one thing, simple, one thing. Number 3, find your uniqueness. Number 4, nail down your offering. And number 5, be consistent. So a lot of the problem of us starting a new business or us doing something new is there's so much fear associated with it. And fear comes from a lot of different things. Fear is fear of failure, fear of rejection. We're scared of other people's opinions. I've jotted a few down. We are even nervous if the product or service is going to be good or if it's viable. And we also look at our credentials and we look at other people in the space or space adjacent, and we're like, well, they're way better off, than we are. They're better at this. So how dare I even try, because I'm not them. I'm not worthy of being able to do a thing. So I think that that's an interesting thing because it's something that I would submit that we all experience it. And I would even say the people in the highest levels are probably still experiencing that. For me, I've started 2, I'd say key businesses, 413 Health and Fitness and 413 Apparel. 413 Health and Fitness kind of segued into 413 Apparel. 413 Health and Fitness was an online personal training company. I got my NASM certification. I stepped away from the IT cybersecurity space and I started doing online personal training. And what I did was before I got my certification, I trained a few friends for free when I was studying for my certification so I could get testimonials. Now, I did this because I was like, I want to see if I'm, decent at this. And then it helped me once I got my certification to do the marketing for the business. Then I stepped into apparel, which ended up being a women's apparel brand. And we built apparel from scratch. And I felt like a complete newbie and I felt completely out of sorts. And that business grew for 5 years. And we really blew that out of the water for a few years. So that was a lot of really cool stuff that happened. But from an internal perspective, I had to grow. I had a lot of fear associated with both. I had a lot of fear associated with some of the day-to-day things. And especially as income rose or as revenue rose, there was a lot of other risky decisions that had to be made and details that I just was not ever accustomed to. I didn't realize that, from an apparel standpoint, when you have a big launch, now that next launch and the followers that you have and the people that want to be, to buy apparel, that grows. And that means a bigger investment, more money out the door that I had ever seen, on a first purchase of inventory. So there was a lot of different things that happened, a lot of fear. So I'm going to give you my solutions to this and my tips to this, especially starting off, because it's an important thing. If you start off the right way, if you start off with the mindset, it can carry you. So number 1 is imagine the worst case scenario. I love to do this all the time. I'm doing this right now with what I'm focusing on is really helping people in the IT space from a mental health, wellness, and physical health perspective. I am developing a new business and brand around that, right? So the worst case scenario is that I'm just back to where I am now. I'm not doing anything, right? That's the worst case scenario for me. Same thing with starting this podcast and doing this. It was like, well, what's the worst case scenario if this thing fails? Well, I just don't have a podcast. And before I had a podcast, I was like, well, I don't have one. So you're back to square one. And also, by starting and doing something, even if you fail, you learn valuable lessons. And that's a very cliched thing to say, but I'm going to take it a step further. You learn valuable lessons that you can apply to other things. When I was doing 413 Apparel, what I had to do when I first started was, we custom made some tanks, brought them back to my studio apartment in San Diego. We sold them. I shipped them by hand. Well, as orders started growing over the years, when, you have a launch day and you do, thousands of orders, then it's like, oh, okay, well, I don't have all of this in my apartment, we have a warehouse space. Well, I can't ship these all myself, so we have packer and pickers. Well, now when people have, orders that went out that were wrong or different size, now we have customer service. Okay, well, we sold out of an item and we need to pre-order an item. Now we need supply chain change management, right? And then when it comes to marketing, we need efficient, operations. We need efficient tools when it comes to applications that we're using, right? So we have Shopify. We're, integrated with an email marketing system. We're integrated with a customer service system. And then also we need to market. We need, photographer, videographer, we need media teams. All of these things got bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, when I decided to absolve the company because I was moving to Texas and I was like, I really want to dive into podcasting and doing these other things, what I realized was for 5 to 6 years of my life, I learned how to build systems, how to organize people, and how to do different things that if I didn't do this, I would never know. So now, working in the tech industry, when I'm able to be that much more valuable and look at an organization from a bird's eye view and say, hey, here are the systems that we have in place, here are the systems that we don't have in place, and here's what we need to do, and here's how we can be more efficient. Same thing, and now these new venture that I'm working on, I'm looking at everything from a high level view. What's my end goal? What are the systems that I need in place? And I'm already able to easily put those things in place before I even launch the business, right? So it's never something where you just end up like having a net loss. You will learn something in the process. Number 2, start with one thing. I use this for every aspect of my life. You follow me on social media, I say something where it's like Momentum Mondays, right? Because Monday, typically that signifies the start of the work week, and you need to gain momentum because look, Monday hits like a freight train, and if you haven't gained momentum, you just feel like you're behind, right? So I always start with one thing. Whenever I have a new business or a new business venture, I always buy the domain for the business. And I typically buy other domains that also kind of seem like it and just redirect it to that domain in case people spell it wrong or whatever. But I buy the domain because I'm like, that's one thing that's so easy for me to do that I just checked off a list, right? I don't try to do too much. I don't try to just solve all the world's problems and, have so much going through my head. I do one thing. And then that might be my only task for the day. And if you have 365 days out of the year, and if you use, let's say 300 days, because let's say 65 days, you got holidays, you got, weekends, whatever. Say you use 300 days and you do one task every single day. After a year, you're going to have 300 things done. That's if you just do one thing per day, right? And so when it comes to building a business and being an entrepreneur, you're going to have hundreds of things that you have to do. Now, if you say, well, each day I'm going to do 3 things, I'm going to do 5 things, then you speed up that cycle. Identify those things that you have to do and do one thing each day. And also by doing one thing, you gain confidence that you can do the next thing and the next thing. If you watch me, I'm big on habits, I'm big on habit stacking. Habit stacking is something where, if you have a habit of every morning brushing your teeth in the morning, which I hope that you do, when you stack a habit, if you say, oh, I want to drink more water, then you might say, hey, before I brush my teeth, I'm just going to have a glass of water because I know I'm going to brush my teeth, and let me stack on top of that. I'm here. I'm going to make sure I have my water right next to my toothbrush, and I'm just going to have a glass of water. Boom. Now I have a habit of drinking more water in an area that I'm already habitually doing something. Right now, my focus is at the end of my workday, I have about 30 to 45 extra minutes of, mental time and space that I can use that I'm like fresh. And so my habit is, instead of just like leaving my office and being like, okay, let me get a start to the evening, I'm like, well, no, I'm already have a habit of being here and getting work done. Let me stack 30 to 45 minutes on top of it, knocking out tasks. I do that over time. That becomes easier. So start with one thing and watch how your momentum gains and how you flow through everything else. Number 3, find your uniqueness. So right now, I know from my uniqueness is I am able to speak, and I also have this unique ability to work in IT, understand IT, and also I really live a fitness and faith-based lifestyle, right? So from a fitness perspective, IT is not typically highly touted as being the most fit people and everything, right? And I am able to speak to it. I'm able to speak to IT. I'm able to speak. And these are things where I'm like, oh, these kind of unique pieces I can meld together and establish something for someone who is trying to get their physical health in line, their mental health in line, and I can speak the IT jargon, and we can have these conversations. And also, I am someone who I can bring that all together. That's my uniqueness, right? So whenever you find your uniqueness, you already kind of see where your entrepreneurship or where your business can go and the doors that it can open up because of who you are. Don't try to be a carbon copy of someone else. I see this so much on social media, and I think it's viable because I think at times that it helps. But when I started doing a lot of the research for, okay, how to get my new offering for the IT space out there, how to make sure that I'm really, having a strong offer and all of this stuff, I just started getting the same ads by a bunch of different people because I was Googling, different fitness things and whatever. And it was like, if you're a fitness coach and you want to make 10,000 a month, or if you're a fitness coach and you want a Ferrari like me, then I can help you get leads and blah, blah. And it was the same thing. And I'm like, yeah, maybe those people are doing that well, but everything is like a carbon copy. And I'm like, well, there's nothing that is different that I've heard from each person. So I'm like, oh, it just kind of seems like a money grab. Now, some might be really good and that might be their uniqueness, but because there's so many copycats of things, you actually don't know who is unique. You don't know who is, telling the truth about what it is. The one of the ads that I saw that I found the most unique, it was a guy who very much looked like an IT person who was fit, who said, hey, I'm an engineer. I do engineering stuff all day. I'm coding all day, and I'm also a certified personal trainer. And I just help engineers get fit around their, day of. And he just kind of went through kind of an engineering day. And I was like, that's brilliant, because he realizes that he's like, oh, I'm just kind of a guy who just codes, and I also really like fitness. And I wasn't really into fitness, and I realized how much it helped me and how much it helped my career. And I can talk to you about how to be a better engineer, and I can also help you, aid you in your fitness to be a better engineer. And the focus is so you can be a better engineer, so you can, improve in that space. I was like, I don't want to be in that space, but that is so cool because that's a unique spin. So find your uniqueness. Number 4, nail down your offering. So this is something that I find it's increasingly harder to do, because back in the day, it's like you could just be broad. Now everybody's offering something. So you really want to nail down who your niche is, who your target market is, and what you're offering in the results that person is going to see by buying your product, by doing your service, or by hiring you to do whatever it is. It's something where it takes time, and it takes time for the light bulb to click. Keep it a buck with you. The light bulb did not click for me until about 3 weeks ago, right? If you see me, like, I've been doing podcasting, but after doing online personal training and after doing 413 apparel, I haven't sold anything. I haven't pushed anything to sell. And it's not because it's a money grab. I was like, I just don't know what I would put out there. Now I'm like, oh, I'm crystal clear about what I would put out there. I'm crystal clear of who I'm talking to and who I, communicate with on a daily basis, and how I am that person and also can aid in helping that space. And that can take time. And so if you realize, that's why I say when you find your uniqueness, you're going to be able to figure out, with your uniqueness, who typically needs that, right? And then you are able to find your space. So find and nail down your offering. Again, this is something that takes time. I'll probably talk about it in another video. We'll go down a rabbit hole of that, but find your offering. And number 5, this is the most important part: be consistent. Be consistent with trying to find your offering. Be consistent with doing the one thing every single day, or 2 things every single day, or doing something every single day. Be consistent with the belief that you can do this, right? Consistency isn't just about doing stuff. Consistency is also about putting yourself in a mind frame and a state of mind that you can do something different. You can change your life. Now, what change your life looks like is different to everybody else. I'm not someone who's going to get on here and say, hey, go be an entrepreneur. You're going to make millions of dollars. Like, I've done entrepreneurship for years. It's a very hard thing. Like, making money and doing these things is in building brand and doing it the right way. It can be a very difficult thing. It's very worth it, right? But you want to be consistent every single day of your mindset that you can do it in doing things, because consistency isn't about motivation. Consistency isn't about a feeling. It's about saying, hey, here's a goal, here's a target, and I'm going to do what I need to do every single day to get in that right direction. Because I'll tell you what happens when you're not consistent, because I've been there. I've been that person. When I was not consistent with podcasting, before Mason and I connected, and so when I was in San Diego for like a year and a half, when I was like, I don't know what I'm doing content on, when I wasn't consistent, what happened was times where I got very motivated to do it, I always regretted, man, for the past 2 months, I could have, been doing this and been more consistent. And then this, spout of motivation, I might have already been taking it to a next level. That's something where I refuse to have that again. When I have an idea about doing something now, I'm like, I'm doing it. There's days where I don't want to do it. Doesn't matter, because I know at some point in time, I'm going to look back and say, I wish I started. What could have been? So I stay consistent regardless. And at the end of the day, I'm able to look back and I'm able to be proud. I'm saying, wow, I can't believe I did this. Win, lose, or draw. No matter how, I learned something and I tried something very different than just the average and normal day-to-day. And if the average and normal day-to-day is something that you love doing, I have no qualms. I think that's great. But if you're trying to be an entrepreneur and you're trying to overcome some of these fears, these are the things that you can do very quickly and very easily that'll help you out. So I'll run through it really quick one more time. Number one, imagine the worst case scenario. It's typically not as bad as it seems. You're just back to square one. Number two, start with doing one thing. Number three, find your uniqueness. Find you. Number four, nail down your offering. What are you offering to other people? Find your niche. And number five, be consistent on a daily basis. So if this message helped you out, if you are needing entrepreneurship advice and just want to have a conversation, please reach out to me. If not, I will see you in the next video. Send it to a friend, like it, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace. Thank you so much for watching this video. We have clips and content coming out every single week, full videos on Thursdays, and clips coming out almost every single day. You can subscribe to this channel if you like it. Also, please send it to somebody who you know needs this message or any message that you see, and we will see you in the next video.